Voice of Korea.
This is Voice of Korea.
This is Voice of Korea.
This is Voice of Korea.
Now we begin the English language transmission from Pyongyang, the capital of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea.
We now present Mr. Carver's Song of General Kim Il-sung. Smil Chorus, Song of General Kim Jong-il. You are listening to Voice of Korea News Now. Respected Kim Jong-un sent a message of greetings Friday to the meeting of officials of chapters of the General Association of Korean Residents in Japan. The message said, "The meeting of officials of chapters of the General Association of Korean Residents in Japan marks an important occasion in defending the immortal exploits performed by the great Generalismos Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il for the movement of Koreans in Japan and shaping happy future of the General Association and Korean Residents in Japan along with the socialist homeland." It paid a noble respect to the officials of chapters of the older generation and patriotic compatriots who devoted their whole lives to the homeland and nation. It extended a warm thanks to all the officials of the grassroots organizations of the General Association, including chairpersons of chapters, who are fully displaying patriotism in the movement of Koreans in Japan without expecting any honor and comfort, following in the footsteps of the foreigners. The message said, "The General Association and Korean compatriots in Japan are now faced with an honorable task to uphold the great leader President Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il as the eternal son of the Korean nation, remain faithful to the duty-based idea and cause of the movement of overseas Koreans, and open a new heyday of the movement of Koreans in Japan. We will valiantly defend in every way the General Association of Korean Residents in Japan patriotic legacy of Tzu-che and do all we can for the dignified life and bright future of the officials of the General Association and Korean compatriots in Japan." The message received the meeting of great success. 40 military attaches corps in Korea presented a floral basket and congratulatory letter to respected Kim Jong-un upon his marshalship of the DPRK. The floral basket and letter were conveyed to Kim Jong-un by military attaché of the Embassy of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Hassan Reza Husseini, who is doyen of the Corps on Friday, through Vice Marshal of the Korean People's Army, Kim Jong-gak, Minister of the People's Armed Forces. Respected Marshal Kim Jong-un, first Secretary of the Workers' Party of Korea and first Chairman of the National Defense Commission of the DPRK, recently received a reply message from Jumali Sanyasun, General Secretary of the Central Committee of the Lao People's Revolutionary Party and President of the Lao People's Democratic Republic. The reply message expressed thanks for the congratulatory message sent on the occasion of his birthday and the belief that the friendly relations between the parties, states and peoples of the two countries would continue to be strengthened and developed. It wished Kim Jong-un good health and continued new successes in leading prospering socialist Korea. Foreign mass media featured the 18th anniversary of the demise of the great leader President Kim Il-sung. The 25th and 26th issues of the Russian newspaper Patriot carried articles of different titles, including Life for the People and Immortal Idea and Cause of Kim Il-sung, illustrated with pictures of President Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il. The Egyptian newspaper Al-Masaiya on the 10th carried an article titled Shining Moon, and the Equatorial Guinean Radio aired special write-ups in praise of the immortal exploits of the great leader President Kim Il-sung on 4 occasions on the 7th and the 8th. A DPRK book photograph and fine art exhibition opened at the Far Eastern Arts Museum in Khabarovsk City on July the 12th on the occasion of the 10th anniversary of the great leader Kim Jong-un's visit to the Far Eastern region of Russia and the first anniversary of his visit to Siberia and Far Eastern region of Russia. Hung at the venue of the exhibition were portraits of the great Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il. On display there were their famous works, books and photos on the reality of Sunjin Korea and fine art works showing the wisdom and talents of the Korean people. Present at the opening ceremony were many people, including personages of the Russian Khabarovsk territorial government, the Khabarovsk Federation of Association for Friendship with Foreign Countries, the Khabarovsk City Administration, the Far Eastern Arts Museum in Khabarovsk, the United Confederation of Koreans in Khabarovsk Territory, the United Confederation of Koreans in the Far Eastern and Siberian region, and the press. A performance of the Korean People's Army Song and Dance Ensemble was given at the April 25th House of Culture in Pyongyang on the 20th to extend the greatest honor and congratulations to the respected Supreme Commander Kim Jong-un, Marshal of the DPRK. The performance was appreciated by Cha Byung-hee, Director of the General Political Bureau of the Korean People's Army, senior officials of the Ministry of the People's Armed Forces, and officers and soldiers of the Korean People's Army. Put on the stage were colorful items, including narrative poem, Greatest Honor and Congratulations to Marshal Kim Jong-un, and mixed chorus, Glory to Our Great Party. The performers extended greatest honor and warmest congratulations to Marshal Kim Jong-un, representing the ardent loyalty of the entire officers and soldiers of the People's Army. National foods are greatly encouraged in Korea. National foods, including Pyongyang cold noodle, loved by all Koreans, are being served at the Ongnu and Songwoo restaurants, which have been rebuilt and expanded according to the warm love of the great Kim Jong-il for the country, nation and people. All kinds of national foods are being further developed and encouraged in all provinces, cities and counties across the country, including the capital city Pyongyang. Those excellent national foods created by the Korean people for ages are favorite and wholesome foods of the working people. Heavy rain hit all areas of the DPRK on the 18th and the 19th under the influence of Typhoon 7. It rained more than 200 millimeters in several areas, including North Hamgyong Province, South Hwanghae Province, and Gangwon Province, between 3 hours on the 18th and 0 hours on the 20th, and there was a downpour of over 80 millimeters at granaries on the west coast and in the areas along the east coast between 0 and 3 hours on the 19th. Especially, there were strong winds of 10 to 80 meters per second and tsunami at the seaside on the east coast. Sudden heavy rain and storm gave damages to the farmlands in many regions of the country, destroyed dwelling houses, public buildings, bridges and others, and caused material loss. Active efforts are made in the affected areas to heal the aftermath of natural disasters. all organs and enterprises of different levels are actively helping the people in the affected areas. Foreign Minister Park Ri-chun met and talked with a delegation of the Foreign Ministry of the Kingdom of Thailand, led by Deputy Permanent Secretary Natal Potesara, who paid a courtesy call on him at the Mansute Assembly Hall in Pyongyang on Friday. And that's the end of the news, read by Ri Sang-shin. This is Voice of Korea.
The daily Rodong Sinmun on Saturday carried a commentary titled An Unprecedented Joint Production of the Master and Stooge. The commentary said it has been made clear through the recent press conference with the conspirator that the recent attempted tremendous terrorism is an unprecedented state terrorism orchestrated by the South Korean traitor Ri Myung-bak and his gang under the direct interference and command of the U.S. Master, and continued, "Now the South Korean puppets, frightened by the disclosure of their crimes, scheme to mislead the public opinion, alleging that it is a propaganda and agitation of the North, and such thing can never be possible. The attempted tremendous sabotage acts engineered by the South Korean traitors are a frontal challenge to the dignity of our supreme leadership, unpardonable political terrorism, and extremely frantic plot against the DPRK. The problem is that the recent attempted crime was directly manipulated by the United States. Recently, the United States instigated the South Korean intelligence organs to form anti-DPRK terrorist organizations with traitors and egg them on to terrorist and sabotage acts against the DPRK, supplying them with a lot of funds and means of destruction. The United States and the South Korean puppets shall pay for their sabotage acts against the dignity of our supreme leadership our people consider more valuable than their lives. Our army and people ready to defend the leader at the risk of their lives and annihilate the enemy will never pardon the tremendous provocations of the traitors, but settle accounts with them." That was the gist of a commentary under the title, An Unprecedented Joint Production of the Master and Stooge, carried in the daily Rodong Sinmun on Saturday. The Korean Central News Agency released a commentary titled, Futile Attempts on the 21st. The commentary said, "The United States, South Korea, and other hostile forces are circulating all sorts of false rumors concerning the organizational issue dealt with at a meeting of the Political Bureau of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea. The Fox News, CNN, VOA, New York Times, Los Angeles Times, and other broadcasts and newspapers of the United States, and the South Korean conservative media, including Chosun Ilbo, Donghwa Ilbo, and KBS, are inventing and circulating fictions, saying an acute scramble for power is going on within the Korean leadership, and we have reconstituted power for Seondang or party-first politics, aimed at strengthening the party's control over the army, deviated from the Seongun or army-first politics. Another fuss against the DPRK, woven with all kinds of conjectures and baldashes, is aimed at destroying the single-minded unity, the mainstay of our national power, and leading us to depart from the road we have already chosen, and thus realizing the attempt to stifle the DPRK. Individual media in surrounding countries are relaying the conspiratorial news run through with falsehood in an attempt to enhance their popularity and distinguish themselves. It does not accord with the mission of media whose life is objectivity, impartiality, and correctness, nor is beneficial in view of the development of relations between countries. With no cunning plots can the hostile forces check the powerful advance of the Korean army and people following the road of Juche in firm unity around the great Marshal Kim Jong-un. That was the gist of a commentary under the title, Futile Attempts, released by the Korean Central News Agency on the 21st. This is Voice of Korea.
Winner Prisoner Mill, chorus of the state mediated chorus, The Blue Sky Over My Country.
contrasting the reminiscences of the great leader President Kim Il-sung with the century. Today we bring you the fourth installment of Section 2. The flames of national resistance flare throughout the country. Of Chapter 24, Nationwide Resistance Against the Japanese. Among the resistance organizations in the homeland, the relatively large ones were the secret society formed in the Nihon Iron Works and the Armed Revolt Society made up of graduates of Gyeongsang Imperial University. The secret society formed in the Nihon Iron Works was an organization made up mainly of workers of this factory under the guidance of a political operative dispatched by one of our small units. It is not accidental that in the early 1940s, an organization for the reconstruction of the Communist Party came into being in the Nihon Iron Works. Quite a few of the leading figures of this organization belong to the old generation in view of their backgrounds in the communist movement and had been behind bars more than once owing to their involvement in labor or peasant unions. The secret society in the Nihon Iron Works made preparations for realizing its main objective, which was to rise in armed revolt in cooperation with the advance of the Korean People's Revolutionary Army into the homeland. It built a secret base in the Puyun area, where it stored weapons, food supplies and medicines, and printed leaflets and pamphlets. It organized action teams in the major industries and even formulated a concrete action plan that specified the date of and the signal for the beginning of the armed revolt and the places from which to wrest weapons, as well as the procedure for this purpose. This society also did a useful job of sabotage to slow down the wartime production of the Japanese imperialists until it was finally uncovered. This resistance organization had a bold plan to capture an anti-aircraft gun of the Japanese army stationed in the vicinity of the factory. The Anti-Japanese Association in this plan, too, launched a struggle to frustrate iron production at the same time as efforts to stop pig iron from being shipped to Japan. Thanks to its efforts, ships waiting to be loaded with pig iron were often delayed at Cheongjin port for several days. The Armed Revolt Society formed in Gyeongsang, Seoul was a large and formidable organization. It included many communists of the older generation as well as a large number of intellectuals. I think it had more intellectual members than any other secret society in the homeland. This organization was also called the Songdae, abbreviation for Gyeongsang Imperial University Secret Society. The incident that was widely talked about as the Songdae incident among the people before liberation was the work of this organization. The man who masterminded this organization was one of our operatives. Both Kim Il-soo and Seo Jung-suk, who formed the Armed Revolt Society in the Gyeongsang area, were veteran communists who had been well known to me since my days in Jilin. Kim Il-soo had once served as a company commander, along with Ri Yong, the son of Ri Jun, in the Korean battalion of the Red Guards in the Far East region. I was told he had taken part in several battles to destroy the White Army, and rendered distinguished services. In the early 1920s, he had also been a member of the Korea Communist Party headed by Lee Dong-hee. He had also engaged in the activities to reconstruct the Korean Communist Party, and later said that he would never call at the Kuomintang again with a potato seal, though he still wanted to reconstruct the party, I was told. He agreed with an open mind to our contention that the party should be built by the method of forming grassroots organizations first through work among the masses and then organizing the higher echelons, instead of the old method of forming the central body and declaring its inauguration first and then organizing subordinate organizations. Later he had taken refuge in Manchuria, and worked with the East Manchuria Special District Committee before getting arrested by the Japanese police and imprisoned for several years. After serving his prison term, he came to Northeast China and visited many places in search of our unit, I was told. Failing to meet us, he returned to Korea and immersed himself in the working class. Obviously, he expounded the mistakes of his past in view of the fact that he attached importance to the working class. Both Seo Jung-suk and his brother Seo Wan-suk are old acquaintances of mine. Originally, Seo Jung-suk had belonged to the Seoul group and then transferred to the ML group. When he was in Jilin, he was on intimate terms with Hwang Baek-ha, Hwang Gi-hun's father. It was when he was engaged in youth work in Jilin that I got to know him. Since he was living in the neighborhood of Jang Chol-ho's house where I was boarding, I became acquainted with him. At that time, we had a lot of arguments. Later, he was said to have given up factional strife. When all others transferred themselves to the Communist Party of China in accordance with the principle of one party for one country, he still stuck to his position to the last, carrying on activities for the reconstruction of the party. Then he was arrested in action and kept behind bars for several years. He was strong in his convictions and principles. Even after liberation, the two brothers worked hard for national reunification and the revolution in South Korea. The resistance fighters in the homeland who had formed the Armed Revolt Society in Seoul expanded the organization to the Hungnam Nitrogenous Fertilizer Factory and other factories, mines and schools in many parts of the country. The Armed Revolt Society in Seoul established a secret base for its activities and carried out a wide scope of activities ranging from the acquisition of weapons and the issuing of publications to the collection of military information. It even taught its members how to handle weapons and gave them military drills. The students of Gyeongsang Imperial University, the only university in Korea during Japanese rule, were considered geniuses, and most of them were sons and daughters of the rich. But the Japanese did not establish the university to enlighten the Koreans. When Koreans launched a campaign to set up their own private university, the Japanese prohibited it, but instead set up a university to produce underlings for their colonial rule, calling it an imperial university. It was amazing that an armed revolt society sprang from such a university. An Hyung-jun also formed national resistance organizations in Seoul and fought courageously. From his early days, he had engaged in the anti-Japanese youth movement in the northern border area under the guidance of my uncle Hyung-gun. Under the cover of operating a sort of stock company on Jongno Street in Seoul with subordinate enterprises, he promoted the work of forming organizations while working in a big way to raise funds for the revolution. He formed national resistance organizations among the lumberjacks and raftsmen of his subordinate enterprises. In cooperation with several comrades, he bought an insolvent Japanese tannery dirt cheap and turned it into supply base and rendezvous for the Armed Revolt Society. The tannery made a profit under his management, and he used this money to purchase weapons and the like, I was told. After liberation, he served as the first chief of the information department of the People's Committee of Seoul City. Together with Kim Chek, I met him at the office of the Provisional People's Committee of North Korea in the spring of 1946. Lee Kung-ro and other scholars who had been associated with the Korean Language Association formed their own organization and waged a sturdy struggle. That was the fourth installment of Section 2, The Flames of National Resistance Flare Throughout the Country, of Chapter 24, Nationwide Resistance Against the Japanese, from the reminiscences of the great leader President Kim Il-sung with a century. This is Voice of Korea.
You enjoy your carols. Our father, Generalissimo Kim Il-sung. It is a great honor of the Korean people to have Kim Jong-un as Marshal of the DPRK. Upon hearing the important news on awarding the title of Marshal of the DPRK to respected Kim Jong-un, the officials and creators of the Mansudae Art Studio, along with the people throughout the country, are greatly excited. Kim Il-sung Prize laureate, labor hero and people's artist Kim Sung-min, Deputy Director of the Marshal Art Studio, says,
위대한 김일성 동지와 김정일 동지를 조선민주주의 인민공화국 대원수로 높이 모신 우리 민이 오늘 경의하는 김전 동지를 공화국의 원수로 높이 모셨으니
Words fail me to describe the excitement and joy as the Korean people have respected Kim Jong-un as the Marshal of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea after having great President Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il as the Generalissimus of the DPRK. Kim Jong-un, in company with Generalissimo Kim Jong-il, visited the service persons of the Korean People's Army in many places and strengthened and developed the army as a powerful revolutionary army of Mount Taek-do.
Director of the Department, Chae Ho-jin, says,
그렇습니다. 어디 국군입니까? 우리 민은 매일 매시간 사회주의 강성국가 건설을 위해 바쳐가시는 경례하는 김정은 동지의 헌신이라고를 정말 눈높게 그리고 가슴 쫄이시 느끼게 합니다.
Not only that, we are moved to tears to see respected Kim Jong-un devoting himself every day and every hour for the building of a prosperous socialist nation. Respected Kim Jong-un is visiting factories, housing construction sites, and construction sites of monumental edifices to make the people not hungry again, but enjoy all advantages of socialism to the full.
Director of Institute, Kim Yong-il, says,
정말이지 경의하는 김정은 동지는 위인 중의 위인이십니다. 아이들로부터 늙은이 이르기까지 온 나라 군대와 인민은
Really respected Kim Jong-un is the greatest of great men. The hearts of all the service persons and people young and old across the country are burning with respect for Kim Jong-un. So all the people across the country are so excited and overjoyed.
So far, we presented an account under the title, It is a great honor of the Korean people to have Kim Jong-un as Marshal of the DPRK. This is Voice of Korea. Underground scenic sport, Yong-un Cave. The Yong-un Cave is a limestone cave in the northwestern part of Korea. It is known as the very large one of its kind in Korea. It has 2 trunks and many branches. The cave, with multifarious wonders made by water dripping from the ceiling, has more than 20 noted places called Manmul-dong or myriads of shapes, Pungnyeon-dong or bumper harvest, Sukwa-dong or stone flowers, Taekwa-dong or all kinds of flowers, Posok-dong or jewelry, Paekdo-Muryeon-dong or Paekdo-san secret camp, Yong-un Plaza, and others, which boast of fascinating and mysterious beauties. The first noted place is an observatory showing the grandeur of the cave. Here we can see a wall which reminds visitors of the sea with the raging waves and stalactites and stalagmites of various shapes of fish, including dolphins, which seems to be jumping up from the sea. Manmul-dong shows multifarious stalactites as its name implies. A grand stone pagoda-shaped stalagmite is at the Pungnyeon-dong. It is called Pungnyeon-tap or Bumper Harvest Tower, as it looks like a stack of grain bags. Now it is 12.5 meters round and 4.5 meters high. Past the Sukwa-dong, where many stalagmites came up like frostwork on ceiling, ground and walls, there is a flower garden where all kinds of flowers are in bloom. The visitors are attracted by the seemingly just blown peony-shaped stalagmite and stone flowers, and those in the shape of fireworks, as if they burst forth in the night sky. This is a noted place called Taekwa-dong. visitors reach Taekdo Myeongdong after passing through the noted place called Kumgang-dong or Kumgang Palace, as it is beautiful like Mount Kumgang, a celebrated mountain of Korea, and a fascinating place like the Dragon's Palace of a legend. Stalagmites bristling in a vast area resemble Mount Baekdo, covered with a thick forest, and the sky rock Songil Peak behind the birthplace of the great leader Kim Jong-il. The stalagmite beside it looks like a juniper. Now it is 2.8 meters high and 2.16 meters round. Along the tourist route, visitors can go to Po-sok-dong, where various kinds of jewels seem to be hanging from the wider ceiling, and at noted places such as Heavenly Paradise with the waterfall of a Samson rock coming down 30-meter-high cliff presenting magnificent beauty, Sang-sok-dong and Gwangnyeong-dong. The last leg of the visit to the Yong-un Cave is Yong-un Plaza. The ceiling and walls of the plaza are decorated with stone flowers that begin to bloom, and various shapes of baby stalactites and stalagmites presenting mysterious scenery. Kim Jong-il visited the Yong-un Cave 2 times and underscored the need to build it up better, saying the cave is the pride and valuable treasure of the Korean nation. Thanks to his ardent patriotic intention, the cave has turned into an excellent beauty spot, giving pleasure and excitement to the people. The visitors to the cave will become 10 years younger. We have introduced underground scenic spot Yong-un Cave. This is Voice of Korea. Now, here is an orchestral music, 명랑 시나리. With this, we conclude the English language service of Voice of Korea from the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Voice of Korea presents its English language service for Southeast Asia between 5 and 6 hours UTC on 13,650 kHz and 15,100 kHz, and between 10 and 11 hours UTC on 11,735 kHz and 13,650 kHz. For Middle East and North Africa between 16 and 17 hours UTC on 9,990 kHz and 11,545 kHz, and between 19 and 20 hours UTC on 9,975 kHz and 11,535 kHz. For Southern Africa between 19 and 20 hours UTC on 7,210 kHz and 11,910 kHz. And for Central and South Americas between 4 and 5 hours UTC on 11,735 kHz, 13,760 kHz, and 15,180 kHz, and between 10 and 11 hours UTC on 11,710 kHz and 15,180 kHz. Goodbye, this is Pyongyang.